Happy Halloween, everybody, and happy birthday, Michael Landon. Welcome back to Yee-Haw, a Bonanza podcast. I'm your host, Melissa, and today we are watching Season 1, Episode 31, Dark Star. Before we continue with today's episode, it is Michael Landon's birthday. He was born on this day in 1936, on Halloween, out of all days of the year. Apparently, Halloween was one of Michael Landon's favorite holidays, so feeling a little extra sentimental today as I record this. I've always greatly admired Michael Landon. I've always greatly admired the types of stories that he chose to tell in the shows that he produced, not just with Little House on the Prairie, but also on Highway to Heaven. I'm a very sentimental, emotional person, and I watched Highway to Heaven all the way through for the first time in 2022, and I guess it just really struck me because it was a very human show. It was a very honest show about helping people and doing good, and it always resonated with me. And so I have a lot of admiration for Michael Landon and the things that he did, not just on Bonanza, but on his shows that he did in his later years. It's very sad that he died so young in 1991. I think he would definitely be on my list of, top 10 people I would have liked to have met or just sat down, had a cup of coffee with, and been like, hey, let's just discuss life. So I'm a little sad that I didn't get to meet him when he was alive. I also wasn't alive when he was alive. He died in 91 and I was born in 94, but maybe not in this life, but in the next, Michael Landon and I can have some pretty cool conversations. But happy birthday, Michael Landon. What a way to be celebrating your birthday with the Bonanza episode Dark Star. I hope you guys are excited because I am. We have a lot to talk about today. So let's go ahead and get into it. So Dark Star was written by Anthony Lawrence. It was directed by Lewis Allen and it premiered April 23rd, 1960. Special guests and other actors that appeared were Susan Harrison, Hugo Haas, Arthur Batanides, Lili, Valenty, Argentina, Brunetti, Grandon, Rhodes, and Jack Tornek. Sorry about the pronunciations. I'm doing my best over here. The episode description is, while hunting a predator wolf, Little Joe finds a gypsy woman who has been rejected from her people because she is believed to be a witch. This could not be more perfect. Let's get into it. First things first, a little bit of a story time here. The first time I tried watching this episode, which was like back in 2023, I think I got maybe like 8 minutes into it before I turned it off. It was probably after the first few minutes of Tirza talking, I started to get really bad secondhand embarrassment. I was like, I don't know if I can do this right now. This is just a little too weird for me. So I quickly turned it off and I did not think twice about it. So as we were getting to this episode in the season, I'm like, oh my God, this is the episode I didn't even finish. I'm sure you guys have all experienced this feeling at some point, but do you know that feeling when you're watching something and you get really bad secondhand embarrassment, like on behalf of the actors, because the content is a little cringy? I can't even talk about it now. But like for me, I start sweating so much. Like I get embarrassed that I'm watching something embarrassing, so like to spare myself from getting embarrassed on behalf of somebody else, I just have to like run away from whatever's making me feel embarrassed. That's how this episode made me feel. Now granted, I did do a rewatch, I took my episode notes, so going into it I'm like, okay, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, but it's still very, very, very weird. So with that in mind, I'm actually quite excited to talk about this episode today, simply because it is so bizarre. I made an Instagram post about almost a week ago, and I asked you guys if you were to describe Dark Star in one word, what would that one word be? And I do want to read a couple of the answers that you guys gave me because I do think that they're funny. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up my Instagram and YouTube, and I'm just going to share what some people had to say about this episode. So give me a second to do that. So here are some words that you guys used to describe Dark Star. Fever dream, Halloweeny, cringe, bizarre, spooky, mysterious, boring, haunting, cringy, embarrassing. So I feel like a lot of you guys have a similar opinion as me. Some of you are a little bit nicer than others, but there are a few thoughts from my listeners on what they think of this episode. Before we get into this episode, make sure to follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Yee-Haw Bonanza Pod. If you are watching today on YouTube, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you have been enjoying the show so far. And whether or not you listen on Apple Podcasts, if you could please write me a positive review, I would really appreciate it. Okay, let's get into some trivia on Dark Star. So, Susan Harrison is this week's guest star as Tirza. She's known for The Sweet Smell of Success, 1957, Key Witness, 1960, and The Twilight Zone, 1959. She is actually in one of the most famous Twilight Zone episodes, and that is 5 Characters in Search of an Exit. She played the role of the ballerina. Now, I know that Twilight Zone has been out for like 60 years, and I'm not going to do a no spoilers thing, but I do think that that episode is worth a watch, and I don't just want to like sit here and tell you how the episode plays out. So if you're interested in watching Susan Harrison in another role, I do recommend the Twilight Zone episode that she's in, because it has a very interesting twist, as many Twilight Zone episodes have. So the episode, again, is 5 Characters in Search of an Exit. So if you're interested in checking that out in honor of Halloween today, now would be a good time to do it. In addition, the writer of this episode, Anthony Lawrence, is responsible for penning quite a few Bonanza episodes. Most notably, he is responsible for writing all the episodes on the mothers. So Elizabeth, my love, Inger, my love, and Marie, my love. In total, he wrote 8 episodes for Bonanza. And strangely enough, he just died in 2024. I'm not sure when, but I know for a fact that he died last year. So that's crazy. And writing for Bonanza apparently established him pretty well in the industry. When I was doing research on this episode, I stumbled across a website called classictvhistory.com, and it is run by this gentleman named Stephen Bowie. And apparently he did some interviews with some screenwriters from the early Hollywood days, but he did have an interview with Anthony Lawrence, and I learned some pretty interesting things about Anthony Lawrence's time writing Dark Star and subsequently his other episodes of Bonanza. So some of those things I learned I will share right now. So Anthony Lawrence apparently had an interview with David Dortort about writing for Bonanza in 1959, and he pitched, quote, what he said was his offbeat idea to Dortort, and David Dortort liked it. Quote, Anthony Lawrence says, I didn't think he was going to buy it for 1 minute, and he did, to my surprise. It had certain things about witchcraft in it and real offbeat things that weren't really typical for a Western, but he liked it. I wrote it, and it was called Dark Star. He talked about how he visited the filming of Dark Star, but he said that he got too busy writing that his visits were very limited. And on top of that, he said that it was kind of boring watching filming, because he said it was just a lot of standing around and people waiting for their cues, and it wasn't very exciting for him. This article has a lot of interesting information about the production of Bonanza at the time. So like how much Anthony got paid as a script writer, what some of the meetings looked like. So I'll place the link in the episode description if you guys want to read it yourselves. But one more thing in this interview that stood out to me is that apparently David Dortort asked Anthony to write the stories on the wives, because during the production of Bonanza in the first 2 seasons, maybe the first season, David Dortort was getting a lot of fan mail asking why all of the sons looked different from each other. Like, why didn't they have any resemblance? So apparently David Dortort told Anthony Lawrence, he was like, do you want to write a story on Adam's mother? And then it just kind of took off from there. So I thought that was a pretty interesting tidbit. But again, if you guys are interested in reading this entire article, I will link it in the YouTube description and the episode descriptions wherever I upload it, if you want to check that out yourself. As far as pictures on the box set, we have a lot of dramatic, romantic shots between Michael Landon and Susan Harrison. There's a lot of pictures of them necking, which is really funny. A lot of pictures of them necking or making out. There's a funny picture where Michael Landon is standing on top of a tree and then Susan Harrison is sitting directly below him. And they're just very dramatic promotional photos, as most of these are, but nothing, too unique from what we've already seen. But yeah, that sums up the behind the scenes on this episode today. So guys, if you're ready for a spooky episode, go ahead and pull up your copy and let's get started. Okay, guys, we are hitting play in 3, 2, 1, go. I do like this pan down of the forest. And here's Tirza. Well, at least little Joe doesn't get shot while hunting this wolf, am I right? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I know we're a long way off, but I'm very excited to get to the episode My Brother's Keeper. I love that episode. And also my feelings. Tirza does so many dramatic things in this episode that it just kills me. Starting with this. She has so many crash outs in this episode. It's rather unintentionally funny, to be honest with you. Thank you, Sherlock. Even her pose is dramatic. With my good looks. I can't even. Oh my god, so cheesy. Just right away, you already know what type of episode this is going to be. Have they used this musical cue in another episode? I feel like they have. It sounds so familiar to me, but I can't quite pinpoint another episode where I must have heard it. I don't know if it was an earlier season 1 episode or maybe a later episode I'm connecting it to, but the soundtrack for this one is familiar to me. I don't know what it is about this actor's delivery. Give her a chance, boy. Give her a chance. Well, she will, won't she? It's a very old-timey guy, you know? Oh, you wait. I'm glad to know the Cartwright brothers have their priorities in check here. Uh, she could steal from us, but she sure is pretty, isn't she? Careful, she'll give you rabies. Because she's a werewolf. I just, what a bizarre episode. It's just bizarre. Maybe that's not an appropriate response to little Joe. You just want to bite him. Now the layout of this room is interesting. You know, the slants on the ceiling. I don't know if I would ever get to this, but I would like to map out and, draw the rooms, you know, make an actual layout of the Ponderosa. Just for fun, not for any like particular purpose other than for fun. What is this dialogue? Okay, girl. Forward much? Look at her eyeliner, though. Okay, weirdo. Like her dialogue is so weird. Like I don't even know what to say beyond that. It's very very weird. And now we have gotten to like one of my favorite scenes in this entire episode. God, she is so weird. Why is she so pronunciated with her dialogue? It is so overpronounced. Like, we went from 0 to 100 so fast in that scene. Like, why did she do that? And what's going on here? She literally runs up to Little Joe and this guy, screams in their faces, and then runs away. Like, what was the point of that? It wasn't the fact that she ran up to you screaming in their face? I'm going to be honest. Anthony Lawrence is quoted as saying, I didn't think David Dortort was going to go for this episode. I'm a little surprised David Dortort went for this episode. Like, I'm genuinely interested. What was their train of thought in greenlighting this story? Like, what was the value they actually saw in it? I that is a genuine question I would actually like to know. And the thing that this episode has going for it, other than in comparison to other Bonanza episodes, is that it's just very unusual. Like, people will remember this episode simply because it is so weird. They're like, hey, you know that one episode where they introduced a gypsy girl and they had like an exorcism in it, and little Joe fell in love with her, but she talks super strange. I mean, it's a conversation starter. I'll give the episode that, but like, I would really like to know the train of thought behind this. And by the way, I would like to mention Ben is much nicer to Tirza than she deserved, considering the fact that she just randomly yanked the tablecloth off of his table and destroyed a bunch of his valuable dishes. Like, I'm not sure that I would be so gracious. I think Ben was way too nice for her in this episode for my liking. You know, I get that they were fleshing him out a bit more and they're trying to make him into the fatherly Ben that we know, but I think aggressive Ben would have been appropriate for this story. Now, in this scene, they introduce a gypsy group playing music, and there's one guy who's playing a violin very dramatically, and he shows up a handful of times throughout the rest of this episode, and it's so hilarious and creates such a dramatic flair to whatever scenes that he's in, especially that dancing scene with Tirza. It's just like he's playing the crying violin dramatically in the background. It's just, it's so much. It's genuinely hilarious. I feel like this subplot is one of the only redeeming aspects about the episode. Like, it's not that big of a subplot, but it is amusing how this gypsy guy swindles them with the pig and everything. I think the episode might have been more interesting had they just leaned into the idea of the Cartwrights getting swindled by a group of gypsies. Like, you could have gone the comedic route. But I'm not even sure, like, does this episode want us to take it seriously? I'm not sure what kind of tone we were going for here. It's really confusing. And that is part of the enjoyment, I won't lie. Like, the confusing tone of this episode is is partially why I think it's entertaining. But I would have leaned into this guy's character. I thought he was amusing. I liked the actor. I think they could have just done something funnier. Hey! All Hallows Eve. And, like, literally, this episode takes place on Halloween. How weird is that? I did not plan this. You know, I didn't think to look this up, but I wonder what Susan Harrison thought of this episode. I wonder if she was like, wow, this is really strange, but okay. I'm looking this up right now. I'm trying to find an interview with Susan Harrison on her time on Bonanza. But there's nothing like readily available. I would have to check out some of the interviews on YouTube. But I would really like to know what she thought. Like, what did she think when she got the script? Was she like, oh, okay, this is super weird, might be fun to do? Or was she like, this is really strange, but it's a way to make money, so I don't care that much? Heck, I even wonder what Michael Landon thought when he read this script. I mean, I think it's fair to say that most of these Bonanza Season 1 episodes aren't very good. And if I ever had the chance to sit down with Michael Landon, I would have just been like, genuinely, just tell me what you thought of some of these scripts. Just be honest. And I think Dan Blocker is quoted as saying a lot of um a lot of Bonanza episodes are not well written, but he claimed that the reason why people liked Bonanza so much is because of the characters. They liked seeing the characters and how they responded to the situations as opposed to the situations themselves. He was like, it was more about our characters and it was less about the stories that we were telling. I'd have to find that quote, but that's like roughly what he said. But that's not like an exact quote. I'm just, summing up what he had to say. Wow, that was a good stunt. Let it never be said that Michael Landon wasn't committed to doing his own stunts. Woo! And obviously, like, that's with the exception of, a handful of scenes that he probably wasn't allowed to do because the studio told him, hey, you're not allowed to do this. But as far as I know, he was pretty committed to doing it authentically, and he liked doing it authentically. Also, how long were Tirza's nails? Because she gave him a pretty deep facial scar. Mm. Our little Pontine pigs is plumb gone. Adam's like, leave me out of this, please. This is already weird enough. I think that's his only appearance in the episode, too. This guy playing violin in the background dramatically. It's so great. I'm gonna make a compilation of that guy for sure. I'm making a note of that. I don't know why I find it so funny. It's just so perfect. It's so unnecessary. It's perfect. Oh, what is this episode? I have no idea. I just love that this guy took their pig and killed it. Ew. Very appropriate reaction. And then this happens. And I think it goes on for like 5 minutes. Actually, I'm going to time it. I'm going to time it starting now. Let's see how long this dance sequence goes on. Is that what you would call it? I just can't. And for what possible reason would little Joe be attracted to her other than her looks? Because she is very beautiful, okay? But everything else just leaves much to be desired. But this is little Joe. And he's had how many girlfriends up until this point? 4? 5? If you're interested, this has gone on for 45 seconds. Let's see how much longer. If they're so afraid of her, why did they allow her to come in and do this? Haas trying to clap. And even the old lady, the exorcist lady, is enjoying it. And they're clapping in the background. We are 1 minute and 35 seconds in now. I wonder who came up with this choreography, or if they just told Susan Harrison, just do whatever you want. Okay, so her little dance went on for about 1 minute and 50 seconds. So slightly shorter than I thought. But still. And she's like, I have so much secondhand embarrassment. Please, little Joe, come with me. Help me to escape this awkwardness. This conversation's actually kind of interesting. Ben and this gentleman, this conversation's actually kind of interesting to me. Talking about the influences of evil and where they come from. And it could make for an interesting analysis. Zorka, okay. Julius Caesar. Like, I think this is really fascinating, talking about, like, talking about the origin of evil and where it comes from. You know, because then you could get into a conversation about free will and maybe get a little bit philosophical, but that's just me. I have a heightened interest in those types of topics. But they did kind of delve into it a little bit here, and I wonder how much more interesting the episode would have been had they taken that and made it the premise of the episode. But then they just ran with like the weird werewolf thing. I don't know. This episode's pretty surface level. So I really shouldn't expect too much of it. Like you could make the premise of this episode like are people born evil? You know, maybe that could have been the topic of this episode. Maybe the gypsies just believe, because the gypsies do believe that she was born evil. So then you can create a really fascinating conversation about where does evil come from? Are we born with it or do we choose it in our adult lives? I don't know. Like a lot of concepts you could have thrown around here. Also, she calls Joe a tree. No, you don't. You've known her a day. Like all women you get involved with. She's just messing with him. That's the impression I get in this episode. Boy, he just old Hollywood smooched her. And I feel like this is kind of mean too, because I do get the impression that she's just messing with him because it's fun. Because then in the last 5 minutes, she's like, no, you silly little tree boy. Stay where you are and let me go back into my world and you go back into yours. Run away dramatically. There it is. So dramatic. And what joy is he getting out of this? Just watching her suffer? It's like his weird fantasy about her. I don't think that Bonanza ever did another specifically Halloween spooky episode. I mean, there are other spooky episodes of Bonanza, like Twilight Town, but I don't know if they ever did another one that correlated with Halloween as closely as this one did. At least not that I can immediately remember. That's the best line. I could have killed you both on your moonlit rock of love. And the whipping's insane. Wow, I mean, he's really letting him have it. Surprised he didn't end up with more injuries other than just his hand. Now, here, this is very obviously Michael's stunt guy. So I'm guessing, obviously not the close-ups, but like the faraway shots. I'm guessing the studio was like, no. For any stuff that just goes beyond, like that, like the smashing over the chair, we're not going to let our actors do that. There's always a knife. About 30 seconds to 45 seconds into a fight, somebody always pulls a knife. Oh, man. And now, exorcism. Because it wouldn't be a spooky Halloween episode without an exorcism of sorts. By the way, they acted like this whole ceremony was super dangerous and scary and she's going to experience all this intense pain, and it literally ended up being nothing. Like, it ended up being pretty mild for, what one might expect of this ceremony. Now the violin guy is dramatically playing the tambourine. I love it so much. This violinist guy has been the champion of this episode for me. He's given me a much needed laugh. Oh, I love you, quirky little bizarre Bonanza episode. I gotta be honest, I can't even hate this. I mean, now that I've actually gotten through the episode, I can confidently say I feel significantly less secondhand embarrassment. But I think I was just feeling really weird that first night I watched it. I was like, nope, I'm not really willing to expose myself to this right now. The way the soundtrack just kicked back in. Dude, her eyeliner looks great. What's her makeup routine? Tirza, drop your makeup routine, please. This is a pretty mild ceremony to what it could actually be. I do kind of like this old lady. She's growing on me. Her voice, the passion she's putting into this. I wish you guys could see my face right now. Ah. So, like, was she gonna burn that into her skin? Was she just gonna... Was the process like we're just gonna keep burning into your skin until the devil comes out of you? What's the logic here? I'm glad that resolved in time, though. Otherwise, that would have been a pretty gruesome conclusion to the story. Although I do kind of feel like they dragged that scene out. Like it didn't feel really intense. It's just kind of like, what are we doing here? What are these exorcism shenanigans? Also, this is crazy. What? What are you talking about? What about her? How is she proven herself as a fine young woman? I need examples, Ben, immediately. Like, you wouldn't. I have too many expectations of this. That was a little out of character for Ben, in my opinion, to be like, ah, yes, Joe, Tears is a fine young woman. Forget the fact that she broke all my china, the fact that, she believes she's a werewolf, that she's possessed, that her culture is a little bizarre, that she talks weird. I don't know. That seems so out of character for Ben. Okay. Tirza, please go. Tirza is like the fifth woman Joe has said that to this season. I love you more than anything in my life. Well, you told like 5 other women that, so that can't entirely be true. Thank you for the makeout sessions, little Joe. They were most enjoyable. But I am a fish and you are a tree, and it can never be. Now let me dramatically exit the Ponderosa, never to be seen again. And you can ponder our lost love. I'm glad that the wolf's paw was perfectly placed on his body so you can make that conclusion. He was very pleasant this entire episode, even though he tried to con them. Can I be honest, Joe? There's been no love lost here. I think you'll be okay. So that was an episode, right? Okay, well, I'm not sure what the theme of that episode was. Watch out for the devil and other people. Um, Look out for weird gypsy girls that talk strangely and believe themselves to be werewolves. Dang, what a bizarre episode. Just so weird. So weird. Okay, well, I think Susan Harrison did her best with a very strange character. I wish I could just sit down with her and Michael Landon and be like, hey guys, be honest with me. What did you think of this script? Like, did you think, oh, it's super weird, so that might be like a fun opportunity to do something different with the show? Or were you like, this is really strange, however, it's another paycheck, so I'm just gonna suck it up and do it? I would have been really interested to hear what the actors had to say on this script. Tirza just seems like she would be a really annoying person to run into in real life, and I think Susan Harrison did her best with a very bizarre character and very bizarre story. I am not entirely sure how to sum up my thoughts on this one. The subplot of Zerko stealing the pig was funny, and conning Ben and Haas, and then eventually like killing the pig and they eat that. I thought that was kind of amusing. I thought Tirza's dramatic crash outs every 5 minutes were pretty hilarious to watch. I can say this about the episode. It is very bizarre, but you can say it's unique. It is a little cringy in some aspects. Like, I think that Tirza's dialogue is kind of hard to listen to because she talks so dramatically and long, and her words are drawn out like the fish painted across the sky or whatever. Like, her dialogue was super weird. The delivery was weird. So it's a little cringy, but this might surprise you guys. I think I would recommend this episode to somebody in the course of season 1. Like, if somebody was watching season 1 for the first time, I think I actually might recommend this episode to them, because for all of its weirdness, for all of the cringy moments, for just all the strange vibes of this episode, it actually offers like a pretty weird, fresh change of pace for Bonanza. Like, it stands out simply because it is those things. You know, some episodes of Bonanza are intolerable where you're like, I can't even watch this because it just annoys me so much, or the script is so bad that I can't recommend this. Like, this is just weird. And I think that is the most offensive thing about this episode, is it's just very, very bizarre. But I can't even fault it for that. And honestly, I would tell somebody, hey, if you want a different change of pace, definitely check this episode out because this is different. You know, maybe past Melissa would be a little surprised to hear my review of this now, but I can't hate this episode. So let me know what you guys think of this one. How many times have you guys watched this episode? Did you find it cringy on your first watch and then amusing on your second watch? Or did you really like it on your first watch and you hated it more your second watch? I would like to know. So please drop a comment on my YouTube channel if you're watching there. Drop a comment on my Instagram. Email me. I would really like to hear your thoughts. Next week, we're finally finishing Bonanza Season 1 with Death at Dawn. And I love that episode. And I'm actually super excited to talk about it because that is the episode that cemented Adam Cartwright as my favorite Bonanza character. And I'm really excited to get into that and why that happened. So make sure you check out Death at Dawn when I record and upload it. And we are finally nearing the end of Bonanza Season 1. So, guys, thank you for following along so far. And I will see you next time when we watch Death at Dawn. Hope y'all enjoyed today's episode. Have an amazing Halloween. And I am looking forward to hearing what you have to say. As always, take care. And I will see you next time.